You know that feeling, right? When you walk out of a store and you feel totally invisible? Or you hang up the phone with a company and you're just another number? Well, that feeling, it's the silent killer for so many businesses. Today, we're going to talk about the antidote, a really powerful idea called customer intimacy. It's all about how to build that unbreakable loyalty.
All right, so let's just dive right in with a big question. Why do customers really leave a business? Now, you might think it's the usual suspects, right? Price, or maybe a competitor comes out with a shinier, newer product. But what if I told you the number one reason has nothing to do with any of that? The real answer, it's a lot more personal, and honestly, it's pretty surprising.
Whoa, okay, just look at that chart. Look at that massive piece of the pie. That's not price, it's not quality. A whopping 68% of customers walk away simply because they feel an attitude of indifference. Just let that sink in for a second. It means they felt ignored, they felt unimportant, like the business just flat out didn't care about them. And that is a huge, huge problem, but it's one you can absolutely prevent. So, okay, if indifference is the poison, what's the antidote? Well, it's all about building a culture of customer intimacy. And listen, this is not some quick fix. It's not a new slogan you can just slap on a poster. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how a company operates from the inside out. So, what do we actually mean by customer intimacy? Well, at its core, it's about having a culture that's just deeply in tune with everyone it serves. And here's the key part. That doesn't just mean the people buying your stuff, your external customers. It also means your internal customers, your employees, the people doing the work every day. It's about creating a place where every single person feels like they're seen, heard, and valued. And this quote, man, it really gets to the heart of it. This isn't about just being friendly sometimes or, hoping for the best. Look at the words being used here. Intimate, consistent, disciplined. Real customer intimacy needs a system, a structured approach until it becomes second nature, the normal way of doing business for literally everyone in the company. Okay, that's the what. We get the idea. But the big question is, how do you actually build a culture like that? So let's get practical and look at the blueprint for turning this whole idea into action. It really breaks down into 4 clear steps. First, you gotta understand what your customers want and need. Then, you need to understand how they perceive you and your competitors, by the way. After that, you actually establish a real program. But look at that last step. Continually improve. This is so important. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It has to be a constant cycle of listening, acting on what you hear, and then making it better and better. All right, a 4-step program sounds great on paper, but how do you make it real for every single employee, every single day? How do you bring it down to the ground level? Well, that's where these super simple but powerful rules of engagement come into play. Let me introduce you to the 10-10 rules. It's brilliant in its simplicity. First, you've got the 10-foot rule. If a customer is within 10 feet of you, you acknowledge them. That's it. A simple nod, a smile, a quick hello. Then you've got the 10-second rule. You have to do it within 10 seconds of them entering your little 10-foot bubble. See? It's not rocket science, but it is an incredibly powerful way to kill that feeling of indifference we were just talking about. It's a tiny action that sends a huge message. I see you, and you matter to us. Okay, so everything we've talked about, it sounds nice, right? It feels good. But let's be real. Does it actually pay the bills? And the answer is a resounding yes. This is not just about good vibes. There is a massive, tangible impact on the bottom line. And that's what makes this whole thing absolutely non-negotiable if you want your business to survive and thrive. Just look at this number. It costs 5 times more to attract a new customer than it does to keep an existing one happy. I mean, think about that from a business perspective. Every single dollar you invest in keeping your current customers happy, in creating that intimacy, pays for itself 5 times over. It's just smart business. And what about when things inevitably go wrong? Because they do. Well, get this. Of the customers who actually bother to complain, an incredible 95% of them will stay with you if you just solve their problem right there on the spot. So a complaint isn't an attack on your business. It's a golden opportunity. And it's an opportunity with a nearly perfect success rate if you just handle it the right way. But what happens if you don't handle it? This is where it gets scary. One single unhappy customer tells, on average, 8 to 10 other people about their bad experience. And it doesn't stop there. Research shows each of those people will tell 5 more. The negative ripple effect just multiplies so fast. That one small moment of indifference can become incredibly, incredibly costly. So, let's just boil this all down, right? What are the key takeaways? First, indifference is the real enemy here. That's what drives customers away. Second, the solution is a culture of intimacy, and that's built on simple, consistent actions from everybody on the team. And finally, never, ever forget that the financial stakes here, both the risk of getting it wrong and the reward for getting it right, are just massive. And all of this really brings us to one final crucial question. I want you to take a hard look at your own organization or your team or even just your own daily interactions and ask yourself, are we actively creating a culture of intimacy? Or are we, maybe even without realizing it, letting an attitude of indifference creep in? Because honestly, the answer to that question could very well define your future.